That shaded corner of your yard you've been ignoring? It might be the most productive space you're not using. For thousands of years, people grew food in forest clearings, against stone walls, and in the shaded courtyards of monasteries, before full-sun agriculture became the default. Indigenous farmers knew it. Medieval monks knew it. Persian, Roman, and Chinese gardeners knew it. Modern gardening buried it, because seeds that need sun sell every spring. Seeds that thrive in shade? You plant once. Shade isn't the absence of growing conditions. It is a growing condition. Today, we are looking at 20 vegetables that do not just tolerate shade, they prefer it. Number 7, outproduced every sun-grown leafy green in repeated trials across 3 seasons. Number 1, Roman legions carried it across Europe. Monks planted it in the shadiest corners of monastery gardens for 1,500 years. Most suburban gardeners are currently paying to poison it out of their yards. Let's expose what your yard has been trying to grow for you. Number 20, spinach, the Silk Road green, that shuts down in full sun. Spinach was cultivated in Persia by at least 600 AD, grown in shaded courtyards where the desert sun would have destroyed it. It traveled the Silk Road as a shade crop. It entered European cooking as a shade crop. Medieval monastery gardens grew it in the cool shadow of walls. Every traditional spinach-growing culture protected it from direct sun. Modern agronomy explains why. Spinach bolts at the first sign of sustained heat and intense light. The leaves turn bitter, the plant rushes to seed, and the harvest window closes within days. In shade, every part of that process slows. The leaves stay tender. The plant stays vegetative. The harvest extends by weeks. It did not disappear from shade because shade stopped working. It disappeared because modern gardening standardized around full-sun agriculture and stopped asking what the plant wanted. Think of it as the green that survived the Silk Road by hiding from the sun and has been waiting for somebody to offer it a wall to grow against ever since. Number 19, lettuce, the 4,000-year salad crop, the modern garden. Put in the wrong bed. Lettuce appears in Egyptian tomb paintings over 4,000 years old. Cultivated in courtyard gardens, shielded from midday sun by walls and fruit trees. Roman villas grew it in shaded atriums. Persian gardens grew it under stone fruit canopies. Every ancient civilization that ate lettuce grew it in protected light. Modern research confirms the tradition. Lettuce leaves are almost entirely water held in thin-walled cells. Direct sun drives transpiration faster than the roots can compensate. The plant stresses, bolts, and turns bitter within days. Shade holds the moisture in, extends the harvest window by up to a month, and preserves the sweetness that commercial lettuce loses in transit. Lettuce did not become a sun crop. The supply chain needed it to become one. Think of it as the salad green. 4,000 years of civilization grew in the shade, and the modern garden decided to plant next to the tomatoes. Number 18, arugula, the Roman soldier's green that belongs under olive trees. Arugula appears in Roman texts from the 1st century AD. Roman soldiers ate it as a stamina food. Medieval monastery gardens maintained it in shaded herb beds. Italian farmers planted it between rows of taller crops, using shade as a deliberate cultivation tool. Its natural habitat is the partial shade of Mediterranean walls and olive groves. Modern analysis shows arugula leaves contain vitamin C, vitamin A, calcium, iron, and significant glucosinolates, the same compounds in broccoli associated with cancer protective effects. Sun-grown arugula bolts within 3 weeks and turns aggressively hot. Shade-grown arugula holds for 2 to 3 months, produces broader leaves, and develops the peppery complexity the Romans valued. The plant was never the problem. The full sun rule was. Think of it as the Roman soldiers ration green that a modern garden grows in the wrong place and then blames for tasting wrong. Number 17, peas, the crop that full sun shuts down. Peas were among the first crops cultivated by human civilization, found in Middle Eastern archaeological sites over 10,000 years old. They were grown in cool valley bottoms and shaded hillside terraces, not in exposed fields. Every traditional pea-growing culture protected the plants from afternoon sun. Modern agronomy explains what traditional growers knew. Pea flowers are extraordinarily heat sensitive. When temperatures climb and direct sun beats down, the plant drops its blossoms. No blossoms means no pods. Most home gardeners experience this as a short, disappointing harvest in early summer followed by a dead crop. In partial shade, particularly afternoon shade, peas continue flowering and producing for an additional 4 to 6 weeks. Peas did not fail modern gardens. Modern gardens put the trellis in the wrong bed. Think of it as the crop modern gardens plant in exactly the wrong place and harvest exactly half of what it was capable of producing. Number 16. Kale, the cottage garden. Green. That medieval Europe grew against the north wall. Kale is older than cabbage. Medieval European cottage gardens grew it along the shaded north sides of houses, where the soil stayed cool and the sun could not reach it for most of the day. It fed families through winters when nothing else was producing. Scottish farmers traditionally planted it in the partial shade of stone walls. It was never a full sun crop in the tradition that maintained it for 1,000 years. Modern analysis confirms what the cottage gardeners knew. Sun-grown kale develops fibrous texture and aggressive bitterness. Shade-grown kale produces thicker, darker, more tender leaves with mild flavor. The plant concentrates chlorophyll to compensate for lower light, which increases the nutrient density of the leaf. Kale was not misbehaving in full sun. The full sun was misbehaving for kale. There is a difference. Think of it as the vegetable cottage gardens grew against the north wall for 1,000 years, and the modern garden plants in the hottest bed, and then blames for tasting bad. Number 15. Swiss chard, the Mediterranean coast plant that intensifies in low light. Swiss chard grew wild along partially shaded Mediterranean cliffs before it was ever cultivated. Ancient Greeks and Romans recorded its use as food and medicine. Medieval monastery gardens planted it in the corners where nothing else would produce. It entered European cooking as a shade-tolerant, reliable crop. Modern analysis documents an effect immediately visible to any gardener who tries it. The pigments in chard stems, the reds, yellows, and oranges, intensify in lower light. Anthocyanins and carotenoids accumulate as a response to reduced sunlight. The plant becomes more vibrant in shade, not less. Water requirements drop by nearly half. The leaves stay tender for months. Chard did not lose its place in the shade bed. Modern gardening stopped knowing it had one. Think of it as the vegetable that responds to less light by producing more color, and the modern garden is putting in full sun for no reason. Number 14. Garlic, the bulb crop that does not need the light. Most gardeners give it. Garlic has been cultivated for over 5,000 years across Egypt, China, India, and the Mediterranean. It was found in Tutankhamun's tomb. Hippocrates prescribed it as medicine. Throughout most of that history, it was grown in partially shaded orchard understories and garden edges, not in full sun beds. Modern horticulture explains why the tradition worked. Garlic is a bulb crop that stores its energy underground. It depends on photosynthesis less than any fruiting vegetable. The leaves need enough light to sustain basic function. The bulb does the real work below the soil. Shaded garlic produces bulbs that are often larger and more complex in flavor than sun-grown garlic because cooler soil allows longer development without stress. Garlic was never the problem. The full sun rule was. Think of it as the vegetable that has been telling gardeners for 5,000 years that it does its work underground, and the modern garden has been ignoring. Number 13. Carrots, the Afghan highland root that evolved under filtered light. Carrots were first cultivated in what is now Afghanistan over 1,000 years ago in mountain valleys with filtered light, cool temperatures, and deep, moist soil. The original carrots were purple, yellow, and white. The orange carrot is a recent development. The shaded highland valley is the ancestral habitat. Modern analysis confirms the pattern. Sun-grown carrots in warm summers crack, split, and develop woody growth rings because heat drives growth faster than the root can properly develop. Shade-grown carrots elongate cleanly, concentrate sugars instead of stress compounds, and develop finer texture. French market gardeners in 18th century Paris used shade cloth over carrot beds to produce the premium carrots sold to wealthy clients. The crop did not fail. The reclassification did. There is a difference. Think of it as the mountain valley root that the modern garden plants in the hottest bed and wonders why it tastes like a commercial carrot. Number 12. Mint, the riverbank herb that fills the shade. Nothing else will mint originated along the partially shaded riverbanks and woodland edges of the Mediterranean and Middle East. Ancient Greeks placed it on altars. Romans flavored wine with it. Medieval monasteries grew it in sheltered shade beds as a cornerstone, medicinal and culinary herb. Its natural habitat is dappled understory, not open field. Modern analysis identifies the reason shade-grown mint tastes better. The essential oils that give mint its characteristic flavor are diminished by heat and intense light. Shade-grown mint develops darker leaves, higher oil content, and more complex aromatic properties. The plant spreads more deliberately in shade, which is an advantage rather than a limitation in a home garden, where full-sun mint becomes invasive within a single season. Mint did not become a sun plant. Modern gardens just stopped giving it anywhere else to go. Think of it as the herb ancient monasteries grew in their shadiest beds for a reason the modern garden has forgotten. Number 11. Cilantro, the Bronze Age herb that bolts in the sun. Cilantro has been cultivated for over 3,000 years, referenced in Sanskrit texts, and found in Bronze Age archaeological sites across the Mediterranean and Middle East. Its natural habitat is cooler, partially shaded regions. The plant is biologically programmed to bolt at the first sign of heat and intense light. Modern growers confirm the pattern. Most gardeners have given up on cilantro because they plant it in full sun, watch it flower within 2 weeks, and conclude they cannot grow it. The problem is not skill. The problem is light. In partial shade, the bolt cycle slows dramatically. The leaves stay broad and productive for months. The flavor retains the bright complexity the plant is capable of instead of fading into the soapy bitterness of over-mature, sun-grown cilantro. The herb did not fail. The advice did. Think of it as the herb modern gardeners think is difficult, that was simply being planted in the wrong bed. Number 10. Bok choy, the southern Chinese green that was always grown in shade. Bok choy has been cultivated in southern China for over 1,500 years, grown in shaded cool valleys and in polyculture systems where taller crops provided deliberate shade. Traditional Chinese agricultural manuals from the Song dynasty describe precise planting arrangements with bok choy positioned in the shadow of taller plants. This was sophisticated agricultural design, not primitive necessity. Modern analysis confirms the temperature logic. Bok choy reaches peak quality between 55 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Shade maintains that soil temperature range even as summer progresses. In full sun, bok choy bolts within weeks. The stems turn fibrous, and the flavor becomes harsh. In partial shade, the stalks stay crisp, the leaves stay tender, and the plant produces continuously. It did not disappear from shade beds because shade stopped working. It disappeared because Western gardening was written without reference to the tradition that knew exactly where the plant belonged. Think of it as the vegetable that 1,500 years of Chinese cultivation put in the shade, and Western gardens decided to put in the sun. Number 9. Watercress, the streambank green, that grows in deep shade for almost nothing. Watercress has been eaten for over 2,000 years, gathered by Roman soldiers from shaded stream banks during European campaigns, harvested by English working-class communities from the shaded waterways of the industrial Midlands. Its natural habitat is moving water beneath tree canopy, essentially no direct sunlight at all. Modern nutrient density indexes place watercress at or near the top of every measurement developed. It contains more vitamin C than oranges per gram, more vitamin K than almost any commonly eaten food, and significant calcium, iron, and antioxidants. A University of Ulster clinical trial gave subjects 50 grams of raw watercress daily and measured significant reductions in white blood cell DNA damage. In a home garden, watercress grows in a shallow tray of clean water placed in deep shade. The plant did not leave the home garden. The home garden stopped knowing what to do with it. Think of it as the nutrient density champion of the plant world, still growing in the shadiest habitats it can find, still waiting for a tray and a shaded corner. Number 8. Mushrooms, the crop that does not use light at all. Mushrooms are not vegetables. They are included here because no serious list of shade-growing edibles can exclude them. Shiitake cultivation on shaded inoculated logs is documented in Chinese records from around 600 AD. The method is still in use, essentially unchanged, 1,400 years later. Modern mycology confirms what the Chinese growers knew. Mushrooms do not photosynthesize. They require no light at all. Direct sunlight damages the mycelium and halts fruiting. The shaded corner under a deck, behind a shed, or beneath a tree canopy is ideal mushroom habitat. Oyster mushrooms shiitake, and wine caps all produce abundantly from inoculated logs, straw beds, or fruiting kits placed in deep shade. Mushrooms did not disappear from Western gardens because they were difficult. They disappeared because Western gardening treats vegetables and fungi as separate categories, and most garden guides do not mention them at all. Think of them as the food crop that does not care about light, and the shaded corner of the yard is waiting for somebody to put a log in. Number 7. Mâche, the monastery, winter green, that outproduced every sunbed. Mâche, also known as corn salad or lamb's lettuce, has been eaten across Europe for centuries. 17th century French monastery gardens cultivated it as a winter staple, harvested by hand through cold months from the shaded edges of grain fields. It was the green that produced when nothing else could. Modern home trials confirm the historical performance. 3 seasons. Same result every time. Full shade, minimal watering, continuous harvest from late autumn through early winter. Nothing else matched it. The rosette growth form keeps the plant close to the ground, where temperatures are stable. The flavor is mild, nutty, and unlike anything the supermarket sells. Mâche did not vanish because it stopped producing. It vanished because Western seed catalogs stopped stocking it when the monastery tradition that maintained it lost its cultural role. Think of it as the winter salad green the monks grew when nothing else would grow, and the modern garden has never heard of. Number 6. Mizuna and tatsoi, the Japanese kitchen garden. Greens that perform better in shade than in sun Mizuna and tatsoi have been cultivated in Japan and China for centuries in traditional kitchen gardens designed with deliberate shade. Both are cool season brassicas. Both bolt in full sun. Both produce better in partial shade than in any other light condition tested. Modern analysis confirms what the tradition developed. Mizuna produces delicate, feathery leaves with a mild mustard flavor that stays sweet in shade and turns harsh in sun. Tatsoi forms dense, dark green rosettes, edible at every stage of growth. Both regrow reliably after cutting. A single planting produces multiple harvests across a season. Both are ready to harvest within 3 to 4 weeks. They did not fail to cross over to Western gardens. Western gardens failed to import the tradition that developed them. Think of them as the vegetables. Japanese and Chinese kitchen gardens have known belonged in the shade for centuries, and Western gardens are still catching up to. Number 5. Sorrel, the perennial lemon green that grows in deep shade for decades. Sorrel has been cultivated for over 4,000 years, appearing in ancient Greek and Roman texts, in medieval European herbals, and in folk food traditions from France to Russia to West Africa. Its natural habitat is woodland edge and meadow border, dappled, indirect light, not direct sun. Modern horticulture confirms the traditional placement. Sorrel is a perennial. Planted once, it returns every year for decades without replanting. It tolerates deep shade, poor soil, and irregular watering with almost no visible stress. The flavor is bright, lemony, and complex, unlike anything else a temperate garden produces. It works raw in salads, cooked into soups, and as a souring agent, replacing lemon juice in cooking. Sorrel did not fall out of home gardens because it stopped producing. It fell out because perennial greens do not fit the annual replant structure modern gardening built around seed sales. Think of it as the plant once harvested for decades green that grows in the darkest corner of the yard, asking nothing, and the modern garden has forgotten exists. If you're still here, you are already gardening against the grain of modern advice, because this is where the pattern stops being subtle. The plants were never difficult. The placement was wrong. The assumptions were wrong. And the shaded bed has been telling gardeners that for centuries. Subscribe and hit the bell. New deep dives every week. Number 4. Endive and chicory, the crops that improve in total darkness. Endive and chicory, closely related plants with food traditions reaching back to ancient Egypt, were deliberately grown in total darkness for centuries. The practice is called blanching. The 19th century Belgian cellar tradition refined it into an industry, food crop for 1,500 years. Its willingness to colonize shaded ground became the reason it was reclassified as an invasive weed and targeted with herbicide. Think of it as the crop Roman legions carried, monks cultivated, and medieval Europe ate for centuries, that modern gardeners are now spraying out of the ground as if it never fed anyone at all. 20 vegetables, every one of them shade adapted, most of them historically cultivated exactly where modern gardens see a problem. The shaded corner was never empty. The modern garden just stopped knowing how to use it. The plants did not disappear. The knowledge did. Now you have it. That shaded bed is not a dead zone. It is one of the most productive parts of your property. The question is whether you treat it that way tomorrow. Share this with someone who has given up on a shaded bed. Subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you in the next one. Medieval monastery gardens grew it in the cool shadow of walls. Every traditional spinach growing culture protected it from direct sun. Modern agronomy explains why. Spinach bolts at the first sign of sustained heat and intense light. The leaves turn bitter. The plant rushes to seed, and the harvest window closes within days. In shade, every part of that process slows. The leaves stay tender. The plant stays vegetative. The harvest extends by weeks. It did not disappear from shade because shade stopped working. It disappeared because modern gardening standardized around full sun agriculture and stopped asking what the plant wanted. Think of it as the green that survived the Silk Road by hiding from the sun and has been waiting for somebody to offer it a wall to grow against ever since. Number 19. Lettuce. The 4,000-year salad crop, the modern garden. Put in the wrong bed. Lettuce appears in Egyptian tomb paintings over 4,000 years old, cultivated in courtyard gardens, shielded from midday sun by walls and fruit trees. Roman villas grew it in shaded atriums. Persian gardens grew it under stone fruit canopies. Every ancient civilization that ate lettuce grew it in protected light. Modern research confirms the tradition. Lettuce leaves are almost entirely water held in thin-walled cells. Kale, cabbage, leeks, parsley, and winter greens grew against the shaded north wall of the cottage. Herbs and the occasional heat-loving crop went on the south side. The system assumed shade was where the staple vegetables belonged. The shaded north wall was not the compromise bed, it was the staple bed. That is the part modern gardening forgot. Modern nutritional analysis confirms what the cottage gardeners selected for. Shade-grown brassicas contain higher chlorophyll concentrations, more consistent glucosinolate profiles, and better texture than their sun-grown counterparts. The tradition was not a compromise with poor conditions. It was a system optimized for exactly what the plants needed. It disappeared because the cottage garden itself disappeared. 20th century suburban landscaping replaced the working kitchen garden with the ornamental lawn, and the knowledge of which vegetable belonged against which wall went with it. Think of it as a 1,000-year horticultural tradition, specifically engineered for the shaded bed, and the modern garden is currently treating the shaded bed as a problem. Number 1. Ground elder, the monastery food crop. Modern gardens are poisoning out of the ground. Ground elder is the most despised garden weed in Britain and Northern Europe. It is also, for roughly 1,500 years before that despair became the dominant response, a cultivated food crop. Roman legions introduced it to Britain as a portable food plant. Medieval monks carried it across Northern Europe and planted it deliberately in the deepest shade of monastery walls and orchard corners because that is where it produced best. Medieval European communities cooked the young spring leaves like spinach for centuries. Modern nutritional analysis shows ground elder contains vitamin C, vitamin A, calcium, and iron. The flavor of young leaves is pleasant, combining notes of celery, parsley, and carrot tops. Modern research continues to investigate compounds in the plant for anti-inflammatory effects, following a medieval tradition that used it specifically for gout and joint pain. The common name, herb gerard, preserves that medicinal association in the plant itself. The most productive shade crop on this list is being poisoned out of suburban gardens by people who do not know what it is. It did not disappear from food use because it stopped feeding people. It disappeared because the property that made it a reliable food crop for 1,500 years, its willingness to colonize shaded ground, became the reason it was reclassified as an invasive weed and targeted with herbicide. Think of it as the crop Roman legions carried, monks cultivated, and medieval Europe ate for centuries, that modern gardeners are now spraying out of the ground as if it never fed anyone at all. 20 vegetables, every one of them shade adapted, most of them historically cultivated exactly where modern gardens see a problem. The shaded corner was never empty. The modern garden just stopped knowing how to use it. The plants did not disappear. The knowledge did. Now you have it. It is one of the most productive parts of your property. The question is whether you treat it that way tomorrow. Share this with someone who has given up on a shaded bed. Subscribe if you have not already, and we will see you in the next one.